Dave Birkett here, along with Carlos Monarrez. As usual, coming in late to our video. That's for everybody out there who still, every once in a while, emails about that.
It's been a long time, yeah.
So, look, the Lions-Packers game in the rearview now. Hopefully, I'm still getting some emails from fans angry about the officiating performance and what happened and everything. Is the team over it? I mean, what's your sense? I mean, that's the most important thing, right? It doesn't matter if you or I talk about it or the fans, but it matters, I think, if the team is over. If they're still hung up on that loss against the Packers and everything that went down, that could be an issue Sunday against a pretty good Minnesota Vikings team coming in here. If they're past it, this is a game that they can win.
I don't sense that they care. I mean, it was. I feel like in the moment, probably they felt like they were robbed, by the refs. But the NFL moves so quickly. These guys have been playing a lot of football in their careers. I don't get the sense at all that they've been thinking about it, obsessing about it.
Right.
We haven't been asking about it. They really do seem focused more on the Vikings, and they know. I mean, it's another division. I think it helps that it's another tough division game in a short week, because you've got to be focused. If they were playing the Dolphins or something, it'd be a little bit different. But I think they know that this demands all their attention. I think they moved on. What do you think?
No, I agree. I mean, I think, look, we asked questions about it Tuesday, I think, as everybody would, and even a little bit Wednesday. I mean, Trey Flowers talked in the locker room Wednesday, and so there's some cleanup that you have to do, and certainly the players dealt with some questions about that. But as this week has gone on, my sense is that they're focused on the Vikings. They're ready. They realize that their goals are still in front of them.
Yeah.
2-2-1, obviously not where they want to be, but certainly not a bad spot at this point in time. And like you said, this is a division game. This is a crucial game for them at home against a pretty good Minnesota Vikings team. Very good defense, at least. A team that, these games have always been close and low scoring. And so I think they know. They know, just like we know, they need to play a really good game to beat this team on Sunday.
And I think one of the things that we talk about with the arc of this team, under Matt Patricia and everything, is the team has to learn how to grow, and grow under this coaching administration. And I think the Patriots game last year was a big moment for them, a big instructive moment as far as how they handled it. They didn't handle it as well as they should have, as far as
this was the next week.
Yeah, coming back the next week and the next few weeks after that, it was a team that had issues. There were a lot of issues on the team last year. And that one win really kind of was a too big of a moment for them. And I think they've learned to understand how to handle big moments, either big wins or big losses, probably.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the maturation.
That was the Cowboys the next week, right after the Patriots game. And I think they were in it until, if they didn't let, Dak at the very end of that game, right? He got away from a sack, and they had the big play to Zeke. And, I mean, they, look. The Lions need to. I think we've seen a lot of progress from this team this year. Even though they're 2-2-1, even though the victories haven't always been there, I think we've seen a lot of progress in just the way that they've operated, the talent that's there, the way they've played ball games. There still are some things that I know people get hung up on, right? All the yards allowed and the bend but don't break defense, and the running game's not there, and what's happening to the defensive line. But I think overall this program has taken a step forward, and now it's just up to this team to complete something. I mean, they haven't closed out games against the Packers and the Chiefs and the Cardinals. And if they do that against the Vikings, they can get a little momentum here, because this schedule the next, really the rest of the way is pretty favorable outside of the NFC North opponents, which, those games are always toss-ups.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it especially in the immediate future, as we're going to discuss our predictions, I think it shapes up really well for them.
Yep. So give me a key to victory for the Lions. I mean, I look at this. Last year the Lions did not score a touchdown against the Vikings. They think they lost by. They had 18 points. They had 3 field goals in each of those games, and we all know what this Vikings defense is. Daniil Hunter is, he's as good a pass rusher as in the NFL. I think that defense is pretty solid overall. They seem to be. They seem to have gotten the running game going with Dalvin Cook. Obviously, Kirk Cousins has played well the last 2 weeks. If you had to give me one thing that the Lions need to do in order to get back on the winning track, what above all else, what do you think?
Nobody's going to like this. It's not sexy, but Matt Prater. It's going to be Matt Prater again. Everybody.
So you don't think they're getting in the end zone much again?
I don't think so. And I think that people were so upset about the 5 field goals aren't going to be Aaron Rodgers. Well, guess what? They were good enough, but they were playing against 11 guys and a few reps.
Oh,
so,
Carlos!
I believe
no
that.
Excuses,
sorry,
no excuses.
That was a reality. And
excuse maker.
So they played well enough to win. Prater did enough. We asked Patricia about it today, and you don't pass up points. Just don't pass up points when you have a kicker like that. It's going to be a tight game, I think. They'll get into the end zone probably, but I don't believe in Kirk Cousins and the Vikings offense much either. I think they have pieces, obviously. Dalvin Cook's been good, but so I do think Prater's going to make the difference for them.
Well, Prater obviously had an excellent game last week, hitting the 5 field goals. I mean, he's one of the best and the most reliable kickers in the league right now. But I don't know. I mean, they need to get in the end zone a little bit more. You're right. In a close game, when you have a reliable kicker, certainly that could be the difference. To me, I think they need to stop Daniel Hunter. I mean, look, he's had he's had Rick Wagner's number. I mean, Hunter has, I think it's 7 sacks in 7 games against the Lions, like 11 quarterback hits. You remember what they did down there last year to Matthew Stafford, and this is a team that they're pretty healthy right now, but this is going to be a physical game. And Rick Wagner, we saw him pop up on the injury report this week. He's okay. He should play. I mean, he was out there taking first team reps today. But to me, you got to stop that edge pressure that the Vikings bring, because they have enough playmakers on defense that if you're behind the sticks, it's going to be really hard for the Lions to move the ball. And again, you're going to need to score some points, and I think you're going to need more than field goals to win this.
So you're going to have to leave the tight end in more.
Some chip help, yeah, absolutely.
Chip help. You're going to have. I mean, it's going to limit your offensive weapons a little bit. So absolutely, how are you going to score touchdowns as much when you're protecting more?
No, I mean, I think that's valid. But if you get a little bit of time, look, I think it's going to be tough to run the ball against this team. The Vikings are a top 10 run defense, and their linebackers are pretty active. Marvin Jones has had Xavier Rhodes' number over the course of his career. So, I think this is if they give Matthew Stafford a little bit of time, this is something that, and you don't want to do it every time, because again, the more Stafford's dropping back and holding the ball, the more exposed he is to some of those hits. But, I think they can strike for a big play or two against this Vikings defense, this Vikings secondary. So you just have to be wary of Hunter. Everson Griffin too, but Hunter is really the engine that makes this defense go.
Yeah, that defense is, it brings a lot of pressure though. There's the double A gaps, blitz, and every. I mean, it's a monster.
And conversely, I know you're a big Kirk Cousins fan, but Delvin Cook. I mean, that's the guy in defense. That the Lions really have to be keyed in on, because look, Stephon Diggs had a nice game last week. We all know what Adam Thielen is. I just don't know. I don't buy that Cousins can beat him. I don't know where he ranks among the quarterback rankings, but it's not in the top 10 or 12 or 15 or 20 or whatever in the NFL maybe. So I think you got to stop Delvin Cook, and the Lions' run defense has not been good this year, and that would be my biggest concern from the Lions' standpoint is, man, if you have to gang up to stop Delvin Cook, all of a sudden you're leaving some of those big pass plays open, and if you don't gang up to stop him, he's the type of back, and this is the type of offense where they could roll up some.
Well, I think
rushing
that's
yards.
at least that's one thing that sort of shapes up for them, is that they give extra help, in their base defense, whatever, stopping Dalvin Cook. The Lions secondary, as you know, your boy Justin Coleman's playing really well. So that they have a little bit of an advantage on the secondary for the Lions to be able to match up with those guys.
It's interesting because I agree. I thought that Justin Coleman, Adam Thielen plays in the slot a little bit. I thought that was going to be an interesting matchup this week. And then talking to Darius Slay, he was like, yeah, but you know what? They play so much, 12 personnel and 21 personnel, that maybe Coleman doesn't get quite as many snaps, and it made me think a little bit that, Slay against Diggs, Thielen against Melvin, however they want to match up. Look, the Lions aren't going to go away from that nickel, so he's still going to be playing some, but you have to be, maybe Tavon Wilson plays a little bit more because they need that big nickel package out there to stop the run a little bit. So interesting little game within the game, I guess, to watch. All right, Sunday, Ford Field, standing room only crowd. They're going to boo the refs. We all know that, right? Even though these refs had nothing to do with last game, they're going to boo the refs. Give me a score. Give me a prediction. What do you think happens?
I think it's going to be tight, but I think it's going to be the Lions pulling it out, 2017.
So you don't buy that they're no hangover, they're going to, yeah?
No, I don't buy that.
All right, well, that makes two of us. I think the Lions are winning this one, too. I think it's, I think the Lions have, like I said, they've taken some strides this year. And I don't know if that's going to result in a playoff berth or not, but at home, an environment that should be, pretty loud, pretty good. I think the Lions pull this one out. I think it's going to be another low-scoring game. These games always are between these two teams. I think the Vikings' defense is good enough to keep it low-scoring. I'll go Lions 17, Vikings 16.
Wow.
Nail-biter.
Point. Yeah.
So maybe it is Prater. Maybe it does come down to your guy Prater kicking that
65-yarder.
Yeah, 65-yarder to win. Or maybe the Vikings, we all see the you know, the upright magic that the Lions have at Ford Field. Maybe the Vikings miss a couple field goals or something like that, miss an extra point, and that's how the Lions pull out the victory. But they're going to pull out the victory to get to 3-2-1. Then what? Giants next week.
Giants and then the
Saquon
Raiders.
comes to town. Yeah, so
You go back to Napa Valley for more wine.
couple winnable games coming up next. But first, the Lions have to take care of business this week against a pretty good Minnesota Vikings team at Ford Field. That'll do it for us here in Allen Park. For Carlos Monarrez, I'm Dave Birkett. Freep.com.